Imagine standing amidst the smoke and iron of France. 1944. The air is thick with the scent of diesel and spent gunpowder. In the wreckage of a Sherman tank, a hero is fading. This isn't just a story of war. It's a story of a father who fought a world power just to see a face he'd never met. Captain James Wright was a man of steel, a tank commander who had pushed through the hedgerows of Normandy with relentless grit. But even the strongest armor has a breaking point. During a brutal skirmish, a direct hit left Wright mortally wounded. As the life drained from him, he didn't ask for a medic, and he didn't ask for a medal. He gripped the sleeve of his superior and whispered a plea that would stop the great general. George S. Patton in his tracks. "Sir, my baby boy was born last week," Wright gasped, his voice barely audible over the distant thunder of artillery. "I never saw him. There's a photo in my tank. Can you find him?" In that moment, the battlefield vanished. It wasn't about territory or tactics anymore. It was about a father's final right. General Patton, a man known for his blood and guts persona, didn't hesitate. He didn't send a private. He ordered an immediate high-priority search of the scorched wreckage. They had to find that connection. They had to find James Jr. The search of the mangled Sherman tank was desperate. Soldiers sifted through charred maps and empty shell casings until, tucked inside a blood-stained tunic, they found it, a crinkled envelope. Inside was a letter from home and a single, small photograph of a tiny baby boy wrapped in blankets, squinting at a world he had just entered. General Patton did something he rarely did. He hurried. He returned to the field hospital where Wright lay drifting into the shadows. Patton knelt by the cot, the silence of the room heavy with the weight of impending loss. He held the small, black and white image directly before the captain's fading eyes. A miraculous spark returned to Wright's gaze. A weak, trembling hand reached out to touch the glossy paper. A smile, defiant of the pain and the surrounding war, broke across his face. "My son," he whispered, his finger tracing the outline of the infant's face. "James Jr. He looks just like his mother." With his final breath, Wright looked up at the general, the man who commanded armies, and gave him one last mission. Tell him his daddy saw him." Captain James Wright died in that moment. But he died a father who had finally met his son. The hardened General Patton stood in silence, clutching the photo. He didn't put it back in the envelope. He placed it in his own pocket, right against his heart. General Patton was a man who understood the psychology of war better than almost anyone, but the death of Captain Wright changed something deep within him. He didn't just keep that photo as a memento. He carried it as a sacred reminder of the cost of freedom. From the muddy fields of France into the heart of the Rhineland, the image of James Jr. traveled with the Third Army. As the Allied forces pushed deeper into Germany and the Third Reich began to crumble, Patton found a powerful use for that small piece of paper. When high-ranking German generals, men who had spent years cold-bloodedly plotting the conquest of Europe, finally surrendered, Patton didn't just show them maps of their defeat. In the quiet, tense atmosphere of the surrender rooms, Patton would pull out the worn photograph of the tiny baby boy. He would slide it across the table toward the defeated officers. "Look at this child," Patton would say, his voice like gravel. "This baby grew up in a free world because his father, a man you killed, stopped you. You didn't just fight an army. You fought the love of a father who refused to let you own his son's future." The photo became a symbol. To the surrendering generals, it was a stinging rebuke of their ideology. To Patton, it was a reminder that every tank he commanded and every mile he gained was for the James Jr.'s of the world. He carried that photo all the way to the end of the war, fulfilling a silent promise to a dying soldier. The war eventually ended, and the echoes of the cannons faded into history. But the story of that photograph was far from over. James Jr. grew up hearing the legend of the father he never met, the hero who died with his image in his eyes. He grew up knowing that a great general had hand-delivered his father's final blessing. In a twist of fate that seems written by the hand of destiny itself, the legacies of the captain and the general were destined to collide once more. In the early 1960s, through circles of military families and veteran reunions, James Wright Jr. met a young woman who understood the weight of a soldier's life better than anyone. General Patton's own daughter. They didn't just share a history, they shared a soul. They were both children of the old blood and guts era, raised in the shadow of a war that had redefined the world. Their connection was immediate and profound. In 1965, 21 years after a dying father touched a photo in the mud of France, the two families were forever joined in marriage. The son of the captain and the daughter of the general stood at the altar, bridging the gap between the man who gave the order and the man who gave his life. It was the ultimate victory over the darkness of 1944. Today, that single photograph remains a cherished family heirloom, testament to a father's love, a general's integrity, and a legacy that proved even in the horrors of war. The smallest hope can change the course of history. One photo, one dying wish, two families united forever.